Welcome to Unity and the Wednesday meditation. This is a time when we center ourselves, we connect to that spirit within, God, whatever we want to call God, Creator, Ascended One, Divine One. We're going to do some chanting. It's call and response. I'll sing a line and then you repeat it. Don't worry about what you sound like. It's just really a time to connect with your inner self. You are in the sun. You are in the sun. In each flower's bloom. In each flower's bloom. You are in my heart. You are in my heart. In this very room, in this very room. You are in the sun, you are in the sun. In each flower's bloom, in each flower's bloom. You are in my heart. You are in my heart. In this very room. In this very room. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. 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 You are in the wind. You are in the wind. In each twinkling star. You are all around me. You are never far. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. You are in the desert. You are in the sea. Dancing in the grasses. Whispering in each tree. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. You are in the mountains. Laughing in each brook. You are peeping at me. Everywhere I look, oh my Lord, all I want is you. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. I can feel your presence where each pathway ends. I can see you smiling through the eyes of friends. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. 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 You are in the sun, in each flower's bloom. You are in my heart, in this very room. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. You are in the wind, in each twinkling star. You are all around me. You are never far. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. 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 You are in the desert, you are in the sea. Dancing in the grasses, whispering in each tree. Oh my Lord, all I want is you. 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 Here's you. Here's you.
Heaven is not as far away as we perceive it to be. The only way to see heaven, though, is to become heavenly minded. And then we will see it. Many, many years ago, Swami Rama, one of the really interesting Indian gurus who was able to do extraordinary things, he could slow his heart down to where it was almost imperceptible. He's one of those guys you could bury for a few days, things like that. Well, he was a fledgling guru, and he came to the ARE, our little center in New York City, showed up. Nobody ever saw him before, showed up and asked if he could talk. They set up a talk for the following Saturday. And after his talk, one of the ladies who was a regular member of, there was only like 30 or 40 people that were regular members of that small center. And she was always complaining about her life and things that were going wrong in her life and in her daughter's life and in the life of her family who were rejecting her. So after the talk, she came up to Swami Rama and she was laying this trip on him about her life being so miserable. And he said, you don't like your life? She said, of course not. He said, well, change your mind. And then he proceeded to discuss how, and it comes out to the same thing the masters down through the ages have been saying. What are you telling yourself? What are you telling yourself every day? Because what you're telling yourself every day makes what it is you're living every day. What you're believing every day is being corroborated by the experiences you're going through every day. And I think it was Alan Watts said, whatever you say goes, but only for you and those who believe you. Whatever you say goes, but only for you and those who believe you. It's difficult for people who are very much a part of the world to believe that they're living in a different world than other people. They don't realize, they can't come to understand that each of us is living in the world of our beliefs and what we are telling ourselves every day. And that makes completely the different worlds that we find ourselves in. So it's a matter of getting to that place where we recognize that what is proceeding out of our consciousness is affecting everything around us. And we have to be aware to check on that. It is no longer enough to say, well, they did this and he does that, and there's terrible things going on in the world, and how are we supposed to handle all of this injustice? Well, the first and most important thing to do is to be just yourself, to be just in relationship to the truth. That is, that I am not a separate being in a world of separate phenomena or separate others. I am a divine being, and I'm interconnected with everything and everyone, everywhere, all the time. So the things that operate in my understanding, in my mind, in my beliefs, are affecting the life I am experiencing. And if I don't like that, then I have to change what I am telling myself. I have to change my idea of life. That doesn't mean that it's overnight you're going to watch the entire world turn into some heavenly place. It means that you are going to turn into a heavenly being first. And then you're going to begin to see that everything around you responds more heavenly toward you. And so it is necessary to understand that truth. We are reaping what we sow. What we are putting out in consciousness is what we are receiving. I guess the Master of Life said it as clearly as it can be said. By your thoughts, you will be justified. And by your thoughts, you will be condemned. Not by anything but your thoughts, your feelings, what goes on in your consciousness is determining whether you're justified or condemned, whether you have peace or you don't have peace. But to know that to operate from that awareness is to be bringing into the collective consciousness the healing awareness that we are all one. So our work is about bringing into our awareness that we are all one. And as you listen to the words of the Master down through the ages, as you do it unto the least of these, your brethren, you do it unto me. As you think it unto the least of these, your brethren, you think it into creation in your life, in yourself. So that's about the ball game. That's about it. So to the degree that your life isn't working for you and you're not finding peace in the conditions and circumstances of your life, it's because you have placed other things on the altar of worship. In other words, instead of worshiping the truth of consciousness, you have placed other things on that altar that you are worshiping. So you're foregoing the idea of consciousness. You're letting that go because there's something more important that you think needs to be pursued. And it's simply that way. But it doesn't going to change. We're going to be reaping what we sow no matter what. So we might as well be sowing good thoughts. And Byron Katie puts it pretty well. Is what you're telling yourself make you feel good? So in any given situation, you can check in. If what I'm telling myself now and thinking now and attempting to bring about now, does it make me feel good? And so if you don't feel good, then maybe you need to change what you're telling yourself. what's going on in your consciousness, what's going on in your mind. Of course, the world of distractions is everywhere. It's attempting to get a hold of your mind and turn you into whatever it is that particular party wants to turn you into. In other words, look at all the people that are conditioned by these organizations. There's so many different kinds of organizations that are vying to get your attention because they want you to think in terms of the way they think. And for most of them, it's about some limited idea, some money they want to gain, or some power, or something they want to control. But that's not what it's all about. What it's all about is, am I giving, am I receiving peace? Am I bestowing forgiveness and blessings? Do I speak about forgiveness and blessings? Do I love feeling free of condemnation? Do I really get up in the day and walk through the day and know I feel good about not being condemning of anything? And this is the whole shooting match. This is what it's all about. I mean, people looking for a distant heaven on some distant day, they get my feedback. Something I say too often probably. Most of you have heard it. After I say this, raise your hand if you've heard it before. Suppose there was a distant heaven that you went to, and everything there was going to be peachy keen. And actually, it wasn't something that you worked at here. You simply died and were good enough to go to heaven. And you get there, wouldn't you have to learn what it means to be heavenly? I mean, if you were just a complete complaining personality, like the lady in that early ARE group, if you're always finding fault, if you're always trying to make yourself feel better by finding something limited in someone else, which is what the ego does, it always needs someone who's lesser, someone who's not righteous, someone's not moral, someone's not good enough, someone's not smart enough. Anyway, that's what the ego thrives on. So you get to heaven and you have to learn what it means to be heavenly. What if God doesn't want to be bothered with that? What if God doesn't want to be bothered with that? What if God said, look, I gave you life. You're in a beautiful world. Be awake in living, and you'll discover that what you're thinking about most of the time is what you're experiencing in your life. What you're telling yourself and how you're defining life is what you're finding in life. And that's just it. You're reaping what you sow. How much simpler could it get? If you want to be in heaven, think heavenly thoughts, bestow peace, bestow blessings, forever forgive, let it go, doesn't matter. Then, of Course in Miracles gets down to brass tacks, though. Course in Miracles doesn't let you off the hook. Anybody who spent 7 years writing books and never received a penny for it must have had something else going on that she appreciated, Helen Schuckman. This is from the old text, page 187. If your brothers are part of you, and you blame them for your deprivation, you are blaming yourself. And you cannot blame yourself without blaming them. That is why blame must be undone and not seen elsewhere. Lay it to yourself, and you cannot know yourself, for only the ego blames at all. Self-blame is therefore ego identification, and as much an ego defense as blaming others. You cannot enter God's presence if you attack His Son. When His Son lifts his voice in praise of his Creator, he will hear the voice for the Father. Yet the Creator cannot be praised without his Son, for their glory is shared, and they are glorified together. Probably this is the only paragraph. There's so many paragraphs like this. If anybody wanted to really get straight and find themselves in heaven, all you'd have to do is look at this. If your brothers and sisters are part of you, and you blame them for your deprivation, you are blaming yourself. And you cannot blame yourself without blaming them. You cannot do any kind of blaming without feeling a little bit out of sorts. As long as there's blame going on within one, you feel out of sorts. You don't feel peace and joy. You don't feel safe. You don't feel love. Because you've got this thing. Something is wrong. Something is missing. Something is needed. Someone should have known better. Someone should have done better. Why does it always happen like that with that person and these people? So you go on and on and on in this state of blame, as though you can actually see what is going on in someone else's consciousness. And you can't. You can only see what's going on in yours. And if it doesn't make you feel good, what's going on in yours, you have to change the rhetoric. I remember many years ago when Norma and I were on vacation in Mexico. We were on this beautiful beach. And there was this pelican on the beach. There were a couple of pelicans, but they're going back and forth over the water and then onto the beach. But this one pelican was on the beach. And this little boy, maybe he was about 5 years old, was making these mud packs in his hands and throwing them at the pelican and whacking this pelican with the mud. And the pelican naturally ran down the beach, lifted its wings a little bit and landed. But the little boy followed, ran down the beach and got some more mud and kept throwing it at the pelican. I wondered if the parents were watching what was going on. I didn't know. But when the pelican finally flew off and over the water, the little boy came back into the area, and I said to him, "Don't you know that you're hurting the pelican's feelings?" He said, "What?" I said, "Do you think that pelican has feelings?" He said, "Just sure, I don't know. I don't know." I said, "Well, he does. That pelican has feelings. And you were hurting his feelings by throwing mud at him." So I didn't know. I said, "You know, by doing that, you made it so that that pelican didn't like you." I just want to leave that with you. And then, you know, he went back, this couple on the blanket, and all of a sudden his father comes teaming down on the beach. He's 6'6". He's a cage fighter, martial arts, the whole thing. That didn't really happen. I'm fortunate like that. I'm protected from things like that. So I have, on occasion, you know, I've spoken out, especially to young people who are growing up and actually should be learning how what it is they think, you know, creates the kind of experiences they have in life. And if they want to have a life of harmony and sharing and friendship and peace and health, then you have to marshal your thoughts. You can't just let your thoughts run wild and operate from that limited belief that there's me and there's all that's not me. You got to operate from the belief there's me and they're all that is me. It's all me. and how I am thinking and talking to myself about all that I see is creating how I will see everything I see. So there it is. It's pretty simple, pretty basic. It's interesting how we so easily get sidetracked. The spiritual journey is all about taking to task our own awareness. It's not about taking to task someone else's awareness, but our own. And in doing that, we begin to transcend the everyday conflict that people live in and wanting to try to get something to work better, to force their own personal idea of things on life and make it work for them from their point of view, is just a way of creating more conflict for yourself. And it would be the most valuable thing in the world. You want to change the world, we have to change it at the level where children go to school. You see, today we see so many terrible things taking place in our school system. Young people, isn't it interesting how quickly, too, the society wants to take and give these children some kind of drug to make them feel better. And they're missing the whole point. To feel better, you have to think better of yourself and of everything else. And as long as you're trying to escape the responsibility of understanding that you are reaping what you sow in consciousness, as long as you're trying to escape that responsibility, you're escaping your divinity. You're escaping the way the universe operates. You're escaping the way things were set up for us to learn how to live effectively, beautifully, joyfully. So, when A Course in Miracles speaks about letting go of blame altogether, it's absolutely to the point. And the spiritual practice that we do is to become more and more keenly awake in living. Because what we are telling ourselves inside, in mind and thought, is playing out in our relationships. So the only place we can go to heal is within. We have to take that holy pause. Whenever blame, condemnation comes into the forefront of our experience, whenever we're entertaining negative thoughts about anything or anyone, this is where the world gets off the unity train. When you say to them, as long as you're holding negative thoughts about anyone or anything, people in the world and of the world want to be able to have their negative thoughts and impressions because they assume that they see life the way it is, that they are right in the way they see. And this couldn't be as far from the truth as anything. We see through the mind. And the mind that we are living through is our own. So everything is what we believe it to be. And don't say to other people, this happens in the ministry a lot. Over the years, people say, but Jack, in the real world, no. The real world is my world, not the world of condemnation, conflict, fear, getting even, resentment. No. If that's the world you live in and you want to stay there, fine. Don't do the spiritual practice. But it's not my world, and it's not the world of those who have taken to task their own awareness. The truth will make you free, but the truth is just that. You are experiencing what you are believing. You are seeing what you are believing. You are receiving back what you are putting out in consciousness. So it's a beautiful, simple thing to get on the unity train or get on the spiritual train and to take to task one's own awareness. In fact, it's interesting. So here's the bottom line truth of all that. In the beginning, born in the illusionary concept of life, that I'm a separate body mind in a world of separate others, in a world of separate phenomena, that doesn't necessarily have any consideration for me. That's the initial state of being born into the illusion of life, and usually to parents that are not awakened, and to peers and teachers who are not themselves awakened or enlightened. So we go through trying to live that scenario, and we should be awake enough to realize it doesn't play out for happiness, doesn't play out for peace. So it is necessary then, having been conditioned for so many years, to think that mastery is about getting the conditions and circumstances and people outside yourself to conform to your personal desires and dictates and demands, to get life to work according to the way you want it to go from your personal projection. That is the underlying sin of all sin. It is the underlying sin that allows the illusionary consciousness to continue to have man's inhumanity to man. If you want out of that, you don't have to get the whole world out, you just have to get yourself out. Do the spiritual practice. Learn the holy pause. Catch yourself when negative thoughts and feelings are arising within you, and realize in that moment, I could have peace instead of this. I could bestow forgiveness. I could bestow blessings. I could be quiet and not respond. I could just let it all go. I could be what the masters of life have called me to be. I could be an emissary of divine truth. So we'll meditate together. We'll allow our Tibetan bowls to take us to a very centered place right here, right now. Right where we are, feeling okay, no matter what your life happens to be right now. You've given permission to experiment with it. There's not anybody that's going to come in here, and there's nobody at the end of your life that's going to take you into hell or anything like that. You are living what you are believing. If you don't like what you're living, change the way you are thinking. So right now, you have permission to just be at peace with yourself. We've all gone through many, many mistakes, many errors. The truth is that we can release them just by feeling okay about ourselves. Do that now as we meditate. If you don't have a meditation technique, you can use this one. You can hold this ideal in your awareness during the period of silence, which will be about 10 minutes long. God is love. Love is life. I am God's life. I am. I am. Breathe in I. Breathe out am. I am. God is love. Love is life. I am God's life. I am. I am. Let us take a few minutes to bring to mind those who have been submitted for prayer to our prayer list. Norma will call out each name. Just feel this refined awareness of being here now in divine consciousness. Just feel that going out to those whose names are called. If you don't know the person whose name is called, you can just see the name in light.
Lisa Myers, Allison, Matt, and Leela Fluker, Serenity Ribera, Leela Leland, Don Dunnigan, Del Bigtree, Leela Karen Fluker, Allison, Matt, Elaine and Dave Fluker, Sandy Costello, Phyllis and Michael Herman and family, Paula, Wayne Bartolet, Karen Fluker, Sheila Luna, Dan James, Kate Beltrami, Gail Wagner, Lisa Myers, Tim, Sandy, Lori, Bonnie McDonald, Lori Park, Lisa Myers, Rose Gamble, Dennis Drake, Steve Taylor, the United States government, people being held at the borders. You can call out a name out loud at this time.
S. Daniel, Erin,
Nickel,
Anna Jade, Lee, Ever, Thea.
We see this healing light surrounding the prayer box and all the people's names that have been submitted throughout the month. We see them healed physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Let us recognize that on this higher level, all minds are in communication. In this truth, we recognize the ongoing presence and inspiration of the living God. And we see this occurring in the consciousness of everyone sharing this Boulder community with us. And this refined consciousness of oneness going out and opening the consciousness of everyone sharing the state of Colorado with us. And continuing to expand, to take in everyone sharing these United States of America with us. And so it expands to take in everyone on the North American continent and the South American continent and all the continents of the world. It becoming the truth that we always wanted, the awareness of our interconnectedness and the beauty that comes through that divine consciousness, taking care of and bringing harmony in relationships to all creatures sharing this planet with us, to all of the marine life, to all of the waters, the rivers and lakes and oceans, everything returning to its pristine majesty in the divine awareness of the presence of God. As we pray, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and God is love. To this we say, Amen. We will take an offering for unity now. As we take our offerings in our hands, let's recognize how that actually works on every level in consciousness, that in giving we receive. So let us take this particular ideal into this prayerful way. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive because I give. Together, please. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive because I give. Join me now, please. We dedicate this tithe to the will and the work of the Spirit of truth, the Spirit available to each of us, the Spirit that joins all of us. We dedicate this tithe to the victory of the Spirit of truth. Amen.
So the Wednesday meditation will be going back to 7 o'clock. And
In September,
in September?
isn't that, is it written in there? Did we put it?